All right, so we're back for another episode of Countdown to MIX10 coming up pretty soon. Jennifer, by the way, you notice Jennifer's missing. She's not here. She's out for the day, so I'm filling in on my own. We'll see how that goes. And I've got Nishant, who we'll talk to here in a minute about some special sessions that we have at MIX. We've seen Nishant on the show before. But if you could do the honors of pushing the start button on our 10 minutes, thank you very much. So we have our countdown timer.
That's awesome. It just starts blinking.
It just starts blinking like it's a bomb or something like that. And remember, it'll beep a little bit halfway through. That throws us off every time now. So a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, last night, you get to go all of these fun planning meetings for keynotes and for content and stuff like that. And last night, I went to a meeting. Charlie Kindle was there, Scott Guthrie was there, some pretty senior leadership. It's a regular meeting we have every week to talk about what's going on related to the keynote and other areas of MIX. And I got to tell you, I was blown away. I wish I could talk about what I saw, but I'm always a teaser on the show. Everyone knows I tease all the time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the follow-up question. Mike, tell us why it was awesome.
Yeah, why are you so teasy today? So, I normally tease this much. I want to tease a little extra today. I want to ask for a little extra credit in the tease category and just say some great stuff. So with that, can't go into any details, sorry. 46 days from today, from the day that we're recording this show, and a couple things I want to call out. February 7th, which I believe is next week, but it's coming up pretty soon. There's still a $400 discount on the event up until February 7th. So, if my tease works, or if you've read through what we have on the site and you're ready to go, make sure you do that before the 7th and save yourself $400. That's a good deal. I also want to answer a question that we've seen on Twitter quite a bit. We follow Twitter. I know you follow Twitter often. We have something up that's monitoring the account and the hashtag. And Beyond Sanity asked this morning or last night, what about recorded sessions? It's a great question. We've kind of been known at all MIXes now to record all of our sessions. So to talk just a little bit about that, we do stream all of our keynotes. So the keynotes are streamed live as they happen. We integrate Twitter, so you can watch kind of the buzz that's going on while the keynote happens. And then, of course, we also record all the sessions. And the commitment that we make is within 24 hours of that session completing, we put it online and it's available for everyone for free. I mean, you don't have to have attended. It's just free. It's a great way to get that content out even wider. And, of course, it has a lifetime beyond that. So the couple follow-up questions, since we're a little bit of a behind-the-scenes show, is, well, if you're going to make the content available for free online, why should I even bother signing up? And it's a great question. We get it frequently. So I always talk about the story of the NFL, and it's not a long story, but back when the NFL was asked if they could televise their games, you can guess what their answer was. There's no way, because people are no longer going to come to the games, right? And I don't have to usually explain the rest of that story, because today it's ridiculous to imagine the NFL not having broadcast their games, right? So what you get is, if you want a great camera angle and sit back and just consume the content, we're going to give you a good experience. But if you're passionate about building for the web, doing user experience, you're going to be in those seats. You're probably going to be ripping your shirt off and screaming with colored hair. At least that's the way I've seen you at these events.
Exactly.
Right? So if you're passionate about what you're doing, you need time away from the office. That's another big one people talk about, is it's hard for me to disconnect for that period of time, be inspired, and get content. So related to content, we published 55 brand new sessions this week. 12 of those were from our open call. And now is when I've talked way too much, Nishant.
I'm enjoying it. I'm like, maybe we'll run into 10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll just do the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So you're responsible for a good chunk of sessions at MIX this year.
Yeah, so I own the UX team, and UX is a bit of a misnomer. Because it seems to suggest that these sessions are for designers, but I like to look at it a different way. So I'll zoom out a little bit. You remember the survey last year? We had this really interesting question: where do you fall between designer and developer? And there was this 10-grade scale.
It's like a slider kind of a
thing.
It
was a slider. Left was I'm designer. I'm completely a designer. The right was I'm completely a developer. And I mean, the center would be, well, I have a little bit of both, right? I have a good balance. And what the average attendee ended up saying was they felt a little to the right, so they were closer to the developer end of the spectrum, but not by too much. So basically what our attendees said, that they were pretty technical guys, right, that had a strong design empathy. So it would be kind of silly for us to not have content across the board that caters to that sort of an attendee.
Good.
So I want to keep that in mind as we talk about the UX theme and the UX sessions.
And just for everyone who doesn't understand UX, I know it's a fairly common term now. We've even used it on this show before. It's not just Photoshop and pixels.
Absolutely not. It covers basically experience design for the web. So if you want to break it down to all the subtopics, we go into how to build rich internet applications, interaction design, information architecture, visual design, content strategy, marking up even for HTML, and all those things to me for the web are a part of UX.
Good. So it's richer than just the visuals that show up on a screen or something like that.
Absolutely. The anecdotal sort of colloquial way to look at it is how would I build something for the web? And it covers everything from strategy to designing the product to even marking it up on the front end, because I think that's a part of UX.
And I know you were involved deeply with Bill Buxton last year in the keynote, who kicked it off, and I thought he did a great job explaining user experience.
Yeah,
so
nobody does it better.
There's the halfway point. Those folks can go back and watch that keynote online. Great tee-up.
Totally, great tee-up.
So what do we got going on in this UX-themed section of content?
Well, so there's one more thing I want to say. So, there's a tendency sometimes to think that MIX is sort of a Silverlight show or a Microsoft product show. It isn't, and if you look back even until 4 years ago, when we started MIX 5 years ago, we've had folks coming in from Yahoo, from the microformats community, from the data visualization community, a lot of people talking about very agnostic topics that can be applied to Silverlight, can be applied to Flash or any one of these technologies. Last year, particularly, we got some really good feedback that people enjoyed this kind of content. So this year, what we've tried to do is we tried to get sessions both on sort of what I call the standard side of the spectrum, right? So HTML5, just XHTML markup, CSS 2.1, CSS 3, and then you have the typical RIA stuff, right? So basically, the UX content hopefully caters to both these things in a very agnostic way. So if you kind of break down the kind of sessions we have in sort of the UX tag, there's the high-level stuff, the sort of level-setting stuff. So we've got some agencies, some basically world-class agencies like AKQA, Razorfish, Blitz, who are going to come in and talk about how they run those agencies, how they run design processes in those agencies, which is a good segue into design process, which was a fairly popular topic last year. So we're going to we're going to do some sessions this year on the topic. Robbie Ingebretson is going to probably come talk about, I'm assuming, the seismic interface. I had a session last year where I talked about how we designed MIX Online. Over the past year.
And by the way, you guys have gotten some great awards already for your recent redesign.
Yeah,
fantastic work.
It's been embarrassingly popular. So
that's great.
which is a good problem. So this year we redesigned MIX Online, like you just mentioned, and I also led the redesign of Channel 9, which is unreleased yet, but I'll be doing another session on the process that we used there.
Great.
Then if you go into sort of the design element or the design components of UX. There's IA, which we'll be covering. So we have someone by the name of Nick Fink, who's probably one of the best-known information architects around, period. So he's going to talk about, just agnostically, what's the best way to lay out things on the web. We're going to go into topics like visual design. Matt Brown, who was actually very influential, and the guy who was behind the visual design for Channel 9 as well as MIX Online, is going to come talk about, well, what happens when you take wireframes? How do you go to that next phase into actually turning into pretty pixels?
And these are guys who live it and breathe it every day, right?
They live it
and
breathe it.
Experience.
They're bringing completely practical experience, which is like super awesome. And it's very interesting because I expect Matt to get up there and half of his presentation is going to be in Photoshop, which is totally cool. I think that's a great message, and it's perfect for MIX. We don't talk about content as much, content strategy, and it's kind of funny that now with Christina Halverson doing her stuff, people are really starting to pay attention to content as king. So we actually, even on MIX, we have an editor by the name of Tiffany Jones. She's actually going to come talk. I would call her the up-and-coming Christina Halverson. She's just phenomenal, totally gets what content strategy means, and she's going to come talk to us about that. We have someone from Facebook and Yahoo. So we have Luke Wroblewski, who was there from Yahoo last year. He did he basically does a spiel on web form design, and you would think an hour of how to design web forms couldn't be interesting, but it's probably one of the most riveting presentations I've
say if it's one of those common scenarios and people are doing it all day long.
And he's just talking about stuff like, well, what would happen if you put the label on the left-hand side versus the top? And I mean, really good user research.
That does make a difference.
Absolutely. From Facebook, we have a gentleman by the name of Evan Sharp. He's a product designer out there, and he's going to come and talk to us. He's basically the best HTML, CSS ninja I've ever sort of had the opportunity to work with. So he's going to come talk to us about just how to do that. So, I mean, what you can see is, I could literally take all these sessions and arrange them in a form that would end up being a chapter in a book that you could title Designing for the Web, right? So I'm hoping that, and I encourage both designers, developers, business decision makers, anyone who's building stuff for the web, go check out these sessions. Most likely in the next month on Mix Online, I'll do an opinion post and I'll lay out what my schedule is going to be like, right? What are the sessions I'm going to go to, and hopefully that'll be a template for other people. And of course, as every year, we would like feedback on how this content worked out for everyone. Because, we've heard rumblings about, well, we want more technical stuff, and we've heard rumblings about, well, we want more designery stuff. I think it's always a balance, and not everyone's going to be happy